You are listening to Radiant Creators, a collaborative project composed of people whose passion, purpose, and dedication requires forging their own unique path of empowerment and livelihood. A Radiant Creator isn't making a living, they are living.
Welcome to Radiant Creators, Brad Ebenhoeh from Accountfully. So you guys have a unique business model, and you're helping all different sizes of businesses basically run smoother through, your company itself being a great place to work, great work-life balance. And it just seems that you're approaching helping companies with their accounting, with the things that they don't want to do, in a way that is new, that's fun. And so just tell us about yourself and what Accountfully does.
Yes. Thanks for having me on, Craig. Really looking forward to this. Yes, we kind of have a different spin on an accounting firm. In terms of just, a little bit of background of Accountfully, it's been around since about 2012, 2011. My wife, Meredith, and I actually own it. So it's been enjoyable from a kind of, working with your wife and, mother of our children and fitting all that in. But that being said, Meredith and I actually met in Chicago at one of the big four accounting firms that we were working at, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Obviously that firm, massive accounting firm, but how they operated their business from a traditional accounting firm and how they handled things and just kind of the work-life balance, how the partners handled it. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And, I worked there for a total of, I want to say about 5 years. And I was kind of doing more consulting with their firm and traveling around the nation and stuff, but I was just burnt out and kind of over it. And so I ended up quitting, but the basis and kind of, I think the motivation for Accountfully and the business model and the culture and how we operate comes from that, because I just it was irritating that it felt like a lot of people like myself just weren't happy doing the job in the way that the culture was there. So basically we fast forward a couple years back to 2011, 2012. My wife and I opened Accountfully, and it was basically the I guess the mission of it was, just from a pure culture standpoint, was basically the anti like big four firm, right? Like, you see me with a t-shirt on right now, like, why do we need to wear suits and ties? Why do we need to have staff levels? There has to be a great place or a cool place for accountants to work, right? There has to have that, option there, against all stereotypes. Accountants actually do have, a lot of them have, personalities and want to have fun. It's not all the stereotypical, bean counter in the corner in the back room that doesn't say anything. So we basically kind of went on this venture to essentially, be a really cool place to work for accountants and like-minded people like ourselves. So it's been interesting, and we got a great team. We have a team of, fast forward to where we're now, and we'll get into the business model in a minute, but we're headquartered in Charleston, South Carolina, which is where we live, and we love Charleston. If anybody's never been here, it's an awesome city. We have a second office in Nashville, Tennessee. So two really cool cities with Charleston and Nashville, and we have a total of, I think, 30 to 31 people on our team. So it's kind of crazy. We started with my wife and I, and now we're at 30 people. Kind of nuts, but it's been fun.
And so you mentioned that, so you're a sole proprietorship then. So you guys own the company.
Yeah. My wife and I basically are 50-50 partners. So it's just us that owns it. Yep.
And then how do you feel that makes for a better company to work at, where, when you're a publicly held company, like a huge accounting firm or any other big company, it's a rather impersonal life. It just seems that if you don't agree with the way something is done, well, it doesn't really matter. It's the way it's going to be done. Everything comes from on high, and it's just done the way it's done. Where a sole proprietorship, especially when it's smaller like your company, you have control over it. How does it differ working at a small sole proprietorship where you have control versus a monolithic company where maybe no one has control?
Yeah, it's like at a smaller company, it's nice because my wife and I own the business. And so you have, staff or bookkeepers that come on board, but we have a personal relationship with them, right? We have an open door policy. They can come to us. We understand what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. We can change processes, procedures, support them as needed. I felt like, one of the, the bigger accounting firm that I worked at, or like the couple that I had visibility to, you're just like, the partners, are a lot of them making decisions are out of touch of what's going on a day-to-day basis, and it's kind of like this more of impersonal, job. One of the things that was really annoying of it is, overworking everybody, and just, I think that they have some sort of calculation that's like, hey, we know 40% of people are going to leave after the first 3 years of working for us, so let's just get as much out of them. When it's like, really, the amount of money and time you invest in your team, and the team members, and knowing that they're going to leave, why don't you just change the culture, help, empower them a little bit, kind of get some feedback, and obviously, like, turnover and employee churn is expensive. I mean, I know that here at Bring a Conflict, right? When longstanding employees are, leave, it's tough and it sucks. So, it's like, don't you want to try to have people last longer? So, that's one of the things, with here is, as we're growing, and as our companies, like, footprint from 10 people, having 10 employees to now 30, it's a much different, right? Like, but at the same time, we want to keep it very personable and keep it very employee empowered, and have everybody understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, over communicate, and all that aspect, because of exactly what you're saying. We don't want that similar issue to happen as we grow, because we are going to keep growing, and our goal is it. So as you grow, yes, you need more and more order, and staff levels, and job descriptions, and understanding all of it, and it all makes sense from a pure organizational structure and organization, managing an organization. But you can still kind of keep the new age, or the more comfortable culture across the organization. That's what we're really focused on.
Yeah, I've always felt at larger companies, one of the things that bothers me is I like to do, I like to just treat people well, and I like to be treated well. And I find that when people feel like they're disposable, then it's hard for them to be motivated, really. And then also, when people aren't learning anything that they think is going to benefit them, I find that one great thing with motivation is that people can be learning something that they believe will benefit them in the job they're in now or the next one. Like learning valuable skills that transfer to other jobs, if that's where they go, to other companies.
100%.
Yeah. And so it sounds like at your company, people are, well, doing what they like to do. And if you're doing what you like to do and you're getting better at it and you're doing it in new ways, then isn't that naturally just motivating also, if you don't feel like you're disposable?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when, we're in client service, so we have, 130 plus retainer clients, which means we're handling, we're their outsourced accounting department, right? So when you work with us, you get a staff accountant, a controller, a CFO on a dedicated, they're dedicated on your account, and they're there to help you and support you, moving forward. But all of our employees, have anywhere from, 6, 7, 8, up to 30 clients, right? They manage, right? The staff accountants manage less because they're doing more of the work. The CFOs manage more because they're less, involved with a lot of clients, right? So in terms of that, there's challenges across different clients. There's different industries that we're supporting. There's different circumstances with clients. One client may have really tight cash flow. We have to, support them day in, day out. Another client may have raised $2 million and there's zero problems with cash flow, right? In terms of that. So like, it's nice because everybody gets to see different industries, gets to see different modes of operation in terms of how clients are managing their business. They get to see kind of all that nuance, and definitely are able to learn, different ways to do things, different industries, as well as like just the challenges that arise. So people are constantly kind of there, it's not like you get kind of bored with your job, and if you are, then it's, we can get you to a new client or transfer clients, or, or put you in different departments on our team or things like that. So it is nice, and definitely from our employees, we don't want employees to leave, but they are very marketable after they work with us because they have all these different situations and circumstances and different, clients and industries, and they see how we're handling accounting, moving forward from a modern, paperless, remote type, model. So it is nice, and there is a ton of challenges along the way, and I think everybody, especially the people we hire, we want them to be driven and to, be solution focused, and all that stuff. So it's been nice because, like there's times people just, they're like, wow, I can't believe I figured that out. And it's like, yeah, because you went down the path, you learned, you learned kind of basic accounting, you learned how we do things, and then you figure out like, oh, I think here's the solution, right? So I think our team members really, really enjoy it. Hopefully, that's the goal.
Oh, I imagine. Well, it seems to me to be an incredibly rewarding experience to be running a company where people are happy working there and are enjoying it and are actually, learning skills that they enjoy that are definitely marketable in other places. It must be odd as your staff gets more marketable and more enticing to other employers that might hire them. How are you do you feel that ever, like, oh my goodness, my staff is getting more and more and more valuable, and do you have people kind of creeping in trying to wander off with them?
Yeah, I mean, we've had people that have left, obviously, that we didn't want to leave because they got poached or whatever reason. I guarantee you a lot of our team members do, have people poaching them or recruiters reaching out to them on LinkedIn constantly, right? It's just the deal. But what I've learned is that if you have a good culture like we do, really focusing on empowering people, giving them, career growth opportunities and challenging them, and then treating them with respect and keeping them kind of not overworked, right? Keeping them at a manageable workload. A lot of accounting firms are like, you're at 60 hours the next 4 months, and then you're down to 40. Well, we basically try to keep everything flat all year long, right? And understand, hey, this is we want to work hard, but we want to play hard, but I don't want you guys working 45 hours a week. I want you guys working 40, 41, 39, right? Like, and let's spread out your workload. There's definitely be some weeks where it's more, but traditional accounting, whether it's, the big accounting firm where you're just supporting audits at year end or taxes, it's much more like hilly, right? So it's nice, but then on top of that, they're also seeing, those clients that they support, and then they look out there and say, okay, that person there doesn't treat me well, so he probably doesn't treat his employees well. So it's not always the grass is green on the other side, right? So it's, they look at the different factors that come into play. And a lot of our employees who we hire, we want to look at least a couple of years of professional experience, so that they had another job. And then where are you at with that job? Did you enjoy that job? Well, maybe they didn't like their boss or what they were doing or whatever. So there's a kind of a perspective that comes into play there, versus sometimes when you have people out of college, they get a job and like, oh, this is cool. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, I got a $10,000 salary, proposed, I'm going to move over to this. And they don't understand that hey, it's not always better over there. It may be the first month, but who knows long-term. So it is interesting, but it's a challenge of ours, obviously, to keep the team, our team and compensated properly and give them the challenges and to help them with the growth that they want and need.
Yeah, I think that loyalty is kind of a forgotten aspect of working these days. I mean, just in the way the corporate world has been going. I mean, I worked in IT for an easy 25 years before. Now I'm a trader and I make money in a couple of different ways and such. But in my years of working in IT, I found that by the year it was just going downhill as far as loyalty, because really people didn't feel the company cared about them. And then, when you were in the middle of a business relationship between your company and another company, and that was your customer, you might say, I know I myself oftentimes felt that because I wanted to do a good job. And it's every business relationship just wasn't very good, it seemed like. And so loyalty is, I'm glad you guys are reinvigorating it. I'm glad it exists in your company, because I think, like for me, I've always said, hey, I'll work cheap for nice people. I really will. I mean, if you'll be good to me, I'll be good to you. I'll be good to the clients. And that to me is really rewarding. And it seems that the people working at Accountfully, if they feel a loyalty to Accountfully, then also it just seems like, doesn't that feeling of loyalty, that belief in what they're doing, that feeling of family, doesn't that kind of transfer over to your clients? Don't they share that feeling basically?
100%. Like if you're happy, right, and if you're joyful and you're not a negative energy or energy vampire or whatever they call it, like, that resonates, whether it's in your work product or just your pure, your energy sitting next to somebody, or in your emails you're typing. You know how it is. We've all have bad days, and you're just not very nice to be around or whatever. So, keeping our staff happy is a big part of it, because 100% they serve clients better. We've had staff that, one of the biggest challenges we've had, because we've grown pretty quickly, is that basically, like, by the end of the year, we're probably targeting to be about 35 people. And essentially, last year we were at 25. We ended the year before about 13, 14, 15. So we've added 10 the last couple of years. But when we're running the business initially, when you're an 8-10 person shop, you run the business differently from ownership. You have more control of what's going on. What clients you have, and it's manageable, right? And we had less systems and processes because you knew what was going on. And so we ran the business differently. Now, as we're kind of where we're at now, where we've, recently, hired a HR director this year, because we've had we have so many people, and we need to get better performance review process and recognition and all this HR stuff, that when you reach that 25, 30 people, you need to get that level of infrastructure in to properly set it for success with your current employees plus moving forward. But some of our legacy employees, or the people that were here when we were 6 to 8 people, are like, well, you guys, it's different now, and I'm not enjoying it, or whatever. And it's like, number one, yeah, it is different. We have to have it different because of just, if you had 2 kids versus 10 kids, you would raise your kids differently if you have 10 versus 2, just because of there needs to be more order for 10 kids versus 2 kids, right? Because it's less manageable. So that's been a big challenge, because some of our legacy employees who've been great, did basically kind of at some point, a couple of them got, you could see that they were just not as happy as they used to be, and all that stuff. And they have, recently left, but that's just because of the change that has happened. And those that have been able to adapt to it are succeeding, right? But those that weren't, because they maybe never had been in that big of a work situation or job that had that much, the many employees or whatever, and people were coming in over top of them in terms of, higher staff classes and all that stuff. It kind of went into it, but at the end of the day, it's been, you can only do so much, but no, I feel like it's been good, as we kind of figured that out, and giving our employees, the keep trying to keep people as happy as possible, right? And it's just, there's a lot of little things you can do, because I think a lot of those, surveys these days, that all those, you see out and about, it's not about compensation anymore, right? It's about, yeah, that's a factor, but also flexibility, work from home, time off, unlimited vacation, benefits, hey, employee recognition, that type of stuff. People want to be part of a team. So it's a lot more intangible than it used to be, I think.
Wow, and it seems like you have the right size of a company and the right ideals to, roll with the changes, because business is definitely changing. Yeah, what makes people happy is changing, and the monolithic companies, I think there's an effort to try to keep up, and some care more than others, but whether they care or not, it's hard for a monolithic, a big company to really adapt to changes. It's kind of like a house,
Yeah, if you're bigger, it's hard to move. It's hard to be agile. Like, if you're smaller, you can, so.
Yeah, and then there's agile. That's a funny one. You mentioned agile, the agile development method. That's something that has been a lot of large companies are trying to implement, because supposedly it makes people happier. But oh yeah, I've got lots of agile stories, but we won't go into that. Oh my gosh,
I just opened up a part of your brain that you're like,
Oh,
oh yeah, I remember those.
This like horror show that just it has its place. It has its place. It's like if you're a bunch of developers, agile is great, because it seems to, developers are not normal people. They're very, very unique, and agile is great because it's kind of a way to herd cats, and they like it. They sort of take to it. But when you start pushing that across the whole company, it sort of gets a little weird. It's a little strange, but that's just my take on it. It can be implemented. Everyone could enjoy it, but it's really tricky. So you mentioned your size now, moving to 35 by the end of the year. Is there a sweet spot as far as size in your company? It's like you mentioned the people who were originally there, maybe some of them went, well, I used to like it when it was just us, hanging out, and things were much looser. And then it got bigger, and some of them maybe weren't as happy. I guess some have stayed, some have not. But basically, you're at like 30 now, you're going to move to 35. Is there a sweet spot? Is there a point where you'd say this is just big enough? I don't want to be larger.
I don't think so. I think it depends upon, it depends upon kind of the circumstances at that standpoint. We really have grown organically and not forced it. By that, I mean, we really haven't like sold, really, to be honest with you, like sold our services. We've been very fortunate to make really good connections and partnerships. And then, with clients that we add a ton of value to, they then tell all their friends, because if you're an entrepreneur, other entrepreneurs, and everybody needs an accountant, whether it's just tax work or, everybody needs to keep their books and records, right? Whether you do it yourself or you outsource it or you hire just a traditional bookkeeper or whatever it is, there's an opportunity that everyone needs to file a tax return, right? So it's a good industry to be in. But we're I think 5 years ago, I'd have been like, let's just put the pedal down and sell this thing in 5 years and move on because I want to do it. But now there's other things that I do on a day-to-day basis, like this, right? Talking to guys like you, I lead our kind of business development and sales process. So I'm talking to people every day across the nation, and it's cool. It's like, man, well, what else would I do, right? So I'm not like in the day-to-day nuts and bolts like I used to be, right? Where like your bookkeeping, accounting, focusing a lot on client work. I'm kind of diversifying my responsibility list, and it's really not that bad, right? So it's kind of like, in terms of growth, will there be a point where we stop and maybe stay? I don't think so, because like I think when you stop, if you don't try to keep moving forward, then it kind of, you just stall out, even if it's not a quick stall, it may be like a several stall, right? But I think giving our team challenges and keep moving forward is going to even give more opportunities to our team members too, and keep them more satisfied, which is another thing about it, So I think basically our goal this year is building a really good infrastructure of, basically from an HR standpoint, like I was telling you, with getting an HR director, plus getting more senior level team members and experienced team members here at the senior account, the manager, the director level, to then be able to get that good infrastructure and good processes down and things like that, to then say, okay, how is our employee onboarding training process? Are we as efficient as we can be? Are we hiring the right people? How is our client kind of onboarding phase when they come work with us? Is that as efficient as possible? Do we have a good allocation to that? Our overall like recurring work, week over week, month over month, is that process squared away? Are we good with that? And we're still tweaking all those aspects. And I think over the next 12 months, we're going to really hone in on all that and get better at it. And at that point, it's like, okay, now let's go hire a salesperson and actually try to grow, right? Like grow faster versus, right now it's a lot of inbound, a lot of referrals. The referral engine's going well, which is awesome for us because, it's everybody's referring clients, not everybody, our clients refer us people and things like that. And we make partnerships, and people hear us on this podcast I've never heard of. And, so it's been good because a lot of our leads are kind of qualified leads because they're already coming to us from somebody else. And it's been great from growing kind of in an organic manner, where we get, 4 or 5 new clients a month, right? Versus getting 10. And then all of a sudden, if you get 10, you may not execute on any of those good. So then they're not going to tell their friends about us. They're going to leave us. And so it's kind of like one of those things where the client service, the, supporting them, building that trust is key. And even, if we're not hitting all of our margins on our clients, well, but if we're over serving them or, really having them see the value, then there's a little bit of marketing spend there, right? Because then they're going to tell their friends and boom, then maybe they're going to know about Accountfully. So that's the way we do it. So I don't think we're going to slow down. I do think probably by the, our goal probably end of 2020 would be probably at, 45, 46 people. And I mean, we have sufficient, office space and things for that. So I think the next big goal is to get to that 50 mark, then really figure out what to do, right? Because that's another huge kind of jump. So, building from the 25 to 50 is a set of challenges. And then from 50, I think, to 100, it's like, okay, what are the next big challenges there? So I think that's probably where we're going to go or what our thoughts are, but I don't really know outside of that in terms of, things could change tomorrow. That's another thing.
Oh yeah.
I come into a day and I'm going to do these 5 things. And then half the time I don't even get to those till like 4:00 because everything else shows up and that's just how it is, but it's cool.
Oh, I understand. Well, and since you guys have started to grow, what are some of the directions that you've gone in that maybe you didn't expect? Since you mentioned it's grown organically, that's always nice. It grew organically, so the growth is natural, and that's perfect. Like how you mentioned, it's not forced. So yeah, how has Accountfully grown in ways you just didn't expect?
Yeah, it's kind of funny when we had the business, and like I was saying, our current business model basically came to fruition probably in middle of 2013. And like the I think the two motivations behind it was, number one, cloud-based applications are starting, right? QuickBooks Online, Bill.com, like our systems footprint basically for our clients and our firm were just kind of starting, and software as a service was coming out, and it was starting to get more and more. They were starting, all those systems were starting to share data, right? Open up APIs and allow integration of data and all that stuff. So that kind of was one motivation of saying, wow, we can do things paperless. We don't need to go and print checks and in like the traditional bookkeeping model. The other, motivation was like, I think I read 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and, recurring revenue, automate it, set it and forget it. Kind of, that book has got some things I'm just like, this is impossible, but it has really good themes and ideas that I then took and said, okay, we need to get into recurring revenue. We need to basically get in the model, let's set it and forget it. And how do we roll down that way? Well, one of the ways to do it was to not get involved with inventory-based clients, because inventory is complex and accounting for inventory is complex. So we were like, we're not going to do any inventory-based clients. We're going to do all service. It's going to be easy peasy, right? Fast forward now, we're actually, the majority of our clients are inventory-based clients. So basically what happened was we got involved with a client here in Charleston that it's basically a natural beef jerky company. It's called the New Primal. They're great. I'm sure they're national by now, but they're awesome. But we came in and added a ton of value to them and really cleaned up their books and added, worked with them for a couple of years. They outgrew us because they just started crushing it, and then they needed to go to a bigger firm just because they had more advisory needs and all that stuff. But with that being said, they would go to these trade shows across the nation for natural food and drink trade shows, and they would tell their friends about us because they're like, hey, who's in your accounting? I need an accountant. Next thing you know, we have 5, 6, 7 inventory-based clients, and we're like, okay, we need to start figuring this out. So we figured it out, and we basically now have really honed in on that space, inventory, because we realize clients with inventory actually are stickier, because with automation these days and all that stuff, if you're a service-based company, a lot of it, the bookkeeping is really automated, right? It's really efficient. You can put everything on auto draft. You have invoices can get to customers can set automatically. Payrolls on autopilot. So it's not a ton of work. So they're not a lot of, service-based companies aren't willing to outsource as easy, of accounting like they may have used to, because, much more manual items. So there is still opportunity there, but we're like, when you have inventory-based clients, the accounting for them is much more complex. You need to buy inventory. So typically they have investors or prospective investors. So they have, they need their financials up to date to give while they're raising money. They need to give monthly financials to their investors and their board, right? So there's all these other complexes going on of that we can do it. So we've really seen an opportunity there. And now we just hired somebody that's going to help take our inventory kind of system and specialization to the next level. And we're going to actually offer kind of like inventory consulting services to our clients and new clients. So we're actually creating a new revenue arm at that. So I'd say number one is inventory-based clients we never expected. And number two, I was like, we're never going to do taxes. Like I hate taxes. Like I've never done them. Like screw them. Well, like 2 years into working, we have 20 clients, let's say within the first 2 years. And they're like, hey, can you guys do our taxes? And we're like, oh, we don't do that. Then all of a sudden it's like, wait, the government requires taxes to be done. So literally this is a requirement. So like, why wouldn't we do that, right? A lot of people just want a one-stop shop. They're like, hey, you're my accountant. Can you just do my taxes? Because I don't want to communicate with somebody else. So basically we're like, okay. And we ended up starting to, contract that out. We found a couple guys in New York, actually, we worked for like 4 years, 3 or 4 years, and where we contracted out the tax prep work for our clients and our clients' kind of personal, returns and things like that. And then last January, so almost 2 years ago, we hired a tax person in-house. And then we're going to be hiring a second tax person to start in January for the upcoming tax season. So we're going to have 2 full-time employees in our tax department. And this year, I think we're going to do like 370 returns. So like, it's been a great kind of, revenue builder for our business. And it's just, once again, it's taxes. It's easy. Everybody has to do taxes. So So I would say in short, the two things were inventory based clients, which is our biggest clientele and our biggest kind of marketing spend, specifically in the natural food and drink space. We've really gotten to that, but then doing income taxes. So it's funny because and this is, where you go and you grow and you figure out what your clients need. And you're like, okay, they need that. Should we do this? Is this getting away from our core business model? Well, guess what? Neither of those are getting away from our core business model. They're complements and they're kind of necessities for what we're doing.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, it's a good time to get into what are the offerings like that Accountfully offers? What are your products and services that you're providing people?
Yeah. Yeah. So our core service is basically being, a fully outsourced accounting solution for small businesses. The majority of our clients are 3 million in revenue and below. And within that, I would say the majority within that range is probably 500K to $1.5 million in annual revenue. So what Accountfully works, essentially, like, our goal is kind of a couple of things. Number one is when a client comes to us, implement scalable systems and processes, right? That are cloud-based, that are electronic, that are paperless, et cetera, right? We have clients all across the nation. We have 25 clients in California. We have, 15 in Texas, a lot of those in Austin. We have, New York City, New York, probably 15, right? So, like, creating that kind of paperless and electronic work environment and model, but allowing our clients to implement those processes at 500K in revenue that they can still use at 4 million in revenue, right? That's kind of a big goal of it. Number two is to get the business owner and our main point of contacts out of the day-to-day, right? We don't want them having to worry about doing bookkeeping, responding to vendors, entering bills into, the accounting system, paying bills. We want them to focus on brand development, focusing on the core operations, and getting them out of that space because their time is much more important on those other items. And then the last thing we do is basically deliver our clients timely and accurate financials to make both short-term and long-term decisions. So those are kind of the overall goals of our service product or our service structure, right? In terms of what we do or how we do it, basically, like I was telling you earlier, every client has a dedicated team of 3 people, a staff accountant, a controller, and a CFO. Essentially, we basically take on the brand of our clients, right? We get an accounting@client.com email address that we can send and receive directly with customers and vendors. And then basically each week, we're doing sending and receiving emails, we're updating QuickBooks, processing payroll, sales tax, the traditional bookkeeping stuff weekly, but everything's updated week over week over week over week, right? So the information's timely, and we're feeding our clients the information they need to make decisions on paying bills or following up with past, customer invoices or whatever. And then similarly, end of each month, closing the books each month and sending those reports over to our clients, and then having like a 60-minute financial review meeting, right? Where we're actually sitting with the client, talking about the financials, talking about complex things or bigger things like, hey, what about inventory buying? What about long-term cash flow planning? What about, like putting a 12-month forecast in place, or things like clients that are like, hey, I'm thinking about hiring an employee. What can I afford? What do you guys think? That type of consulting advisory, because we understand what's going on in their business from a financial standpoint, their business model. So we can help do that. So basically, in short, we're kind of a mix of a execution and expertise business for our clients. And it's great because we have a ton of clients and all of our staff work on several or many clients, right? So then our clients are like, hey, what do you guys think about this situation? And we can be like, well, I've seen it done this way or that way, right? So we can provide advice too, and we can learn from our clients that then help, our other clients off, as well as help us, run Accountfully better, right? Because we see other people making mistakes or doing good things.
Wow, so you really are learning from the mistakes of others for sure. Well, it sounds like when people sign up with Accountfully, it sounds like you guys really are a business partner, or almost you sort of become a part of their company that really is there, that rather than just something that you're paying for. Like if you use QuickBooks, many people do. I mean, that's just a service you're paying for it. It works.
Correct.
It's very impersonal. It's like a lot of payroll service as well. It's very impersonal, but it seems like really you guys are striving to be a business partner. Does that sound right?
100%. We want to, all of our clients have different, wants of their business, right? Different goals. Some of them are, hey, I want to keep my business the same and make, this much. I don't want to hire more employees or things like that. We have other clients that want to, grow the top line rocket ship, right? And take this thing and sell it. So it's understanding their needs. We understand how to do bookkeeping and updating the books and things like that. But then it's also like, hey, what do you guys, from our perspective, this is what you should be looking at. This is what this means. Help interpret the data, but also saying, hey, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Like, let's help you with that plan and help give you the information to make those decisions, interpret the data, but you're making the decisions, client, but we want to understand that. So it is that partnership, right? And like, hey, we typically have one financial review call a month, but if something urgent happens, like send me an email, say, hey, can I have a quick call or whatever? And let's have a call and what's going on, right? So it's like, it's becoming that kind of, at times you almost feel like a therapist because they're like having cash issues and they're just like, I can't believe what's going on with my business. And it's just like, hey, it's okay. Such is life, or, it's just, but you're dealing with people's finances, which is very personal. A lot of our clients basically have, like their entire life based upon their business, right? If this business doesn't make money, then they can't pay their mortgage. They can't, feed their kids, and a lot of our clients have, husband-wife teams, right? So it's like, there's a lot of, a lot of things in the line with a lot of our clients. So it's nice because we can be there and help them as much as we can along the way of saying, hey, from a financial standpoint, we got your back. Like, a lot of times we are selling accounting and bookkeeping services, right? But what does that really mean at the end of the day? A lot of times it means that our clients can go to bed at night and go to sleep at night and be like, I'm resting easy because my taxes are taken care of. I paid my payroll taxes. I got my bills paid up. I'm following up on past due invoices. So it's like, it's that financial thing that a lot of times stresses people out because they don't know what's going on. Well, when you have, Accountfully working with you, that's all taken care of. So it definitely is a partnership, and it's a, the more value, the more personal we can get with our clients to understand them and the relationship, the better our services are going to be to them, because they, we're going to understand what their needs are, and we're going to be able to empathize with them. They're empathizing with us, and all that type of stuff that comes along the way.
Well, you sound like the type of person who feels that perfection is fun. Like for me, I really think that perfection is fun, and it's really neat to do some, certain tasks just perfectly, really, really well. It's rewarding. There's a certain fun to joy, fun, accomplishment to perfection, just getting it just right, just perfect. And so it seems like through that endeavor, you guys are freeing up your clients to create, to do their business. So, I mean, how are there any examples where you've really helped to perfect a client's, accounting, basically, then they were freed up to create? Now I don't have to worry about all these little things where I'm constantly falling apart and having a breakdown, because I don't have all these, because really when it comes to the accounting, I know for myself, I have, a little bit of accounting to do as a trader, as a stock trader. And when I get behind, I lose it. It's really annoying. It just keeps you up. You can't think. It just shuts you down. You can't do business because all these, scary monsters are coming after you, especially when it comes to taxes. You're like, ugh. So just knowing that it was all taken care of and I didn't have to think about it, that would free me up to create, to work harder, So really, do you have examples by chance of further success that companies have found after, joining up with you? Like you took a lot of burden off them, they were able to think, and then, how they run with it.
Yeah. Well, it's, I don't know, like it's funny because we have some clients that, a lot of our clients sell on Amazon, right? And we've had a handful of clients that never actually connected their bank account to Amazon. So they never got paid, but they never realized it. So we had one client that literally were like, by the way, you have $120,000 that Amazon's still holding that hasn't been deposited in your account because you didn't click the authorize button. So I just was thinking of that because it helped. Those are the little things that, the detail that we do and the services we provide will identify that stuff. But I think, the majority of our clients, a lot of them come to us, they're like, hey, I have a bookkeeper, but I'm still doing these 5 things and doing that, right? I think the biggest thing we've been able to do with our clients is that, I don't, from a specific example of alleviating them, I think, the biggest example is when, clients are raising money or reporting to their investors, and literally they don't need to worry about it because they're like, by that I mean they don't need to put together financial appendices. They don't need to get reports in place. It's like, hey guys, I need these 5 reports for this meeting. Can you send them? Boom, 3 minutes, we can pull the reports, and there they are, right? We do report on this kind of cool little visual dashboard that our clients that we have, and that each month it's updated, and it shows monthly, quarterly, things like that, KPIs, financial metrics. Well, that's a cool little package that you can give to your board every quarter, right? Like, so it's that like little things. I think the biggest, outside of just the, processing payroll and all that, but it's nice because the most rewarding, I think, is when people are raising money or they have to report to investors. We can easily pull that information, and then a lot of times they're spending so much time on just putting that information together, and a lot of times it's like they have an urgent meeting that came up that if they were doing it themselves, they wouldn't be able to put it together. But they can call us or email us, and we can turn around in 3 minutes, right? Because the information is updated. So I think that alleviating the time in that aspect and supporting them and kind of raising money and in investor relations has been awesome. Outside of that, like it's, every one of our clients, they're able to focus on selling or supporting their team or, making better decisions, along the way. So, and that's the other thing, is making better decisions, right? If you make a better decision up front, you saves less time, or saves a lot of time long-term on fixing that bad decision, right? So like there's so much that our clients are doing when they don't have to deal with this stuff. And that's what's exciting for us, because it is, whether it's creating a new brand or a new product or new flavor, or, expanding services in their business or whatever, or making a better decision on hiring, like that, it all kind of comes into full swing, with our service model.
Wow. Do you find that you feel that your client's success is your success? I mean, do you take your clients personally? Like, do you guys kind of, cheer when something works there in the office? You seem like a bunch that would, that literally you're really in there with them, and you feel their wins and their loses.
Yeah. Obviously we want our, from just the personal relationship, we want our clients to succeed, right? But additionally, from a business perspective, right? Like, they're our clients. I don't want them going out of business. I don't want them having cash issues. I want them to be able to, succeed and grow, and we can grow with them, and we can provide that support. It's like our clients that actually take the most time for us, which actually increases our fees, are clients that have cash issues, because it's like every day you got to make sure, hey, pay this bill now, do partial here, receive this. Hey, you have to check in. And it's frustrating because they're the ones that can't afford us the most, right? But they're the ones that need us the most because of their circumstance. Well, if they just had a bigger bank account or selling better or a little more profitable, it would be set it and forget it and really easy for them, right? So it's like, you're trying to get people in that direction, and a lot of our clients are, so brand new, and their brand is just starting, right? So you don't know how long they're gonna last, if they're gonna last, right? And so it's like that struggle and saying like, hey, oh sweet, you got a big invoice from a distributor. Oh, they reordered, 2 months later. Oh, next month they now reordered a month later. It's like, wow, you're getting some velocity and turn on your product. And it's cool because you're like, all right. And then the client's like, cool, we're moving in the direction properly, and then we can keep adding, keep supporting them and adding more advisory service or more things that allow, they need to make better decisions. So it's definitely that, as, the aspect kind of along the way that to help, our clients. It is exciting when they do have wins, and when they have losses, it stinks, but, we're again here to help, those business owners as well. So.
Yeah, well, it's always good to feel that a business partner is in it with you, Well, we're coming up on an hour. It went by quickly, huh? It did. Well, what you're doing is exciting, and I really like it. Here at Radiant Creators, we interview inspiring people to inspire others, and what you guys are doing is inspiring, because the idea of having a company where the employees are loyal, where they're treated well, where people are having fun, and where they're servicing, where their clients feel like, hey, these people are in it with us, and it's a real business partnership. It's the way it should be, and you guys are doing it, and that's inspiring. So we're really glad to get your message out there. So if there's anything else, definitely throw it out there. And how can people get involved with Accountfully?
Yeah, no, it's, to reach out to Accountfully, is, go to our website, accountfully.com, ACCOUNTFULLY, Accountfully. We're a fully outsourced accounting solution. That's where that name comes, by. if you need any accounting help, follow up on there. We have a chat box, email. We're on all social media under Accountfully. Like, I'm basically the person that leads the sales, so you'll probably be talking to me. But I'm happy to kind of chat, even if you're stuck with like whether it's a solution that you have currently, or you have questions about like progress or how we build or things like that, to kind of see that we're here to help out. And we basically have clients all across the nation and across all industries, so we're here to help out and support you. So if you guys are interested, let me know, and reach out to us on our website or social media, and or email at hello@accountfully.com. And then last, besides that, like, I really appreciate Craig giving me the opportunity to talk on this podcast with Radiant Creators. And since we started this, or since we were planning this, I've been really looking at your audience and following, and what you have is really cool. And then once again, it's very similar, right? Where you're just, at the end of the day, a lot of people have a lot of very interesting things about them, whether it's accounting or what you're doing, and there's so many different creators and people that inspire everybody in different ways. So really appreciate kind of the the conversation and the audience for this podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you a lot.
You are listening to Radiant Creators, a collaborative project composed of people whose passion, purpose, and dedication requires forging their own unique path of empowerment and livelihood. A Radiant Creator isn't making a living, they are living.